Hey folks, Mr. Global here. Matt Randolph, globally recognized oil and gas expert. Today we're going to talk about India because India is the next China and it's already happening, and a lot of people don't realize this. Now, when I say India is the next China, I'm talking about for the oil and gas industry, for the global oil and gas market. And I'm not talking about India taking over China in manufacturing and things like that. I'm talking about a burgeoning economy that is going to be the number one driver of oil demand growth in the world moving forward. They've already surpassed China in that regard. We've talked about this a lot historically. These emerging countries during the beginning of the shale revolution in the United States, that was all based on China and their demand and their exploding economy and their oil demand. That's how that happened. And I think a lot of people don't realize how lucky we were to have found the technology that we were able to deliver during that time. It really came at the perfect time to meet those China demands. So moving on to India, India's burgeoning economy and its growing thirst for oil. India is the world's fastest growing major economy. It's rapidly emerging as a pivotal player in the global oil market. Their economy is expanding at over 6% annually. The country's energy demands are surging. It's driven by industrialization, urbanization, and a booming transportation sector. As China's oil demand growth slows, India is stepping into that spotlight, projected to account for 25% of global oil demand growth this year. So we're going to explore a little bit how India's economic boom is reshaping its energy landscape, the challenges of import dependency that they are facing, and the strategic shifts underway to secure its energy future, right? So India's oil demand is outpacing the world. They're having record growth in consumption. India's oil demand is set to grow by 3.4% in 2025 to about 5.75 million barrels of oil a day, and further accelerating to about 6 million barrels a day in 2026. That's more than double China's growth rate. Diesel dominates the demand, fueled by road expansion, freight transport, industrial activity. With gasoline and jet fuel also seeing strong growth. By 2027, the IEA predicts India will surpass China as the biggest driver of global oil demand growth. I think they're a little late to that. It's already happening. So what are the key economic drivers? They're having an infrastructure boom, massive road and highway projects. They're having manufacturing and petrochemical boom. The government in India has called a Make in India initiative. It's increasing industrial fuel needs. Consumer spending is rising. Incomes are rising. Car ownership is rising. So let's take a look here. So this chart here I got pulled up. I'm going to expand this a little bit just for you, so you guys can see it a little bit better. This is India's oil consumption historically. Look at that. That is their historic oil consumption. That looks just like China did 15 years ago. It looks just like China did. And here's the problem. They have an import dilemma. India imports over 85% of its crude oil. They're up to 5.4 million barrels a day. And Russia is the top supplier. Yeah, followed by Iraq and Saudi Arabia. And that presents a lot of economic and geopolitical risks. The trade deficit, oil imports accounted for 21% of India's total imports. That's $140 billion in trade deficit right there. So let's look at this one. This is India's oil production. Look at this. It's falling. India's oil production is falling while their demand is skyrocketing. That's not good for India. It's just not. The government is investing in a strategic petroleum reserve to buffer against supply shocks since they're so dependent. They do have an ethanol blending program. They're buying a lot of EVs. Yeah, they are buying EVs. They expect EVs to displace 200,000 barrels a day of oil demand by 2030. But diesel heavy industries, they're going to dominate, right? Refinery expansion. India has plans to be a major global fuel export hub. Just building refineries like crazy, right? And sort of the larger thing here is, what is this going to mean for peak oil? Are we going to achieve it? How fast is their demand going to grow? It's really hard to say. Let's take a look at this. Look at this. This is motor vehicles in India. Motor vehicles in India. Now, you may not be able to see this very well, but at the bottom part of that bar graph, there's the bars are filled with green, and then above that is yellow. The green is four-wheel vehicles. All that yellow, those are two-wheel. Those are like motorbikes. And electric motorbikes are very popular. They're becoming much more popular. They're probably selling four-wheel EVs at this point, outselling them. They are in India for sure. How much will that blunt oil demand growth in India? So, the reason this is also important is because this is just going to lend to further geopolitical struggles with countries around the world trying to compete for India's market share. Right now, we see OPEC increasing oil production to try to regain market share. Don't think for a second that India does not have anything to do with that. I'm not saying they're participating in it. I'm saying OPEC is looking to India as a long-term future trading partner. And with India securing so much oil from Russia and Donald Trump sending people to India to try to get trade deals with India, OPEC's increasing production and lowering prices for India to try to hold on to that market, right? So one of the things India needs to do is accelerate domestic production badly. As you saw in the other graph, their oil production is declining. That's not good. Further strengthening their SPR when they finish it and getting that thing done. They're going to have to boost renewables and biofuels to mitigate long-term import dependence, because India is going to be so dependent on countries around the world that just aren't trustworthy to be dependent on, if we're being honest. And they're going to have to leverage their diplomatic ties to make all that happen, to secure stable oil supplies amid an ever-changing, shifting geopolitical environment, right? India's economic ascent is, it's not fragile, but it is inextricably linked to its oil appetite. And as the third largest consumer after the U.S. and China, its demand trajectory is going to shape global markets for many years to come. So smart policy from, like I said, refinery expansion, ethanol blending. India could really turn this into a strategic advantage. India is going to be a powerhouse in the future, right? It's just going to be. This is going to drive further oil and gas production in the United States, as well as other places around the world, because India is the new China. And India could literally be the deciding factor in if we hit peak oil demand in 3 to 5 years or in 10 to 15 years. It absolutely could be, depending on their growth, how much they adopt renewable energy to mitigate the fossil fuel growth, all of those things. It's totally a thing. So keep that in mind. India, up and comer. They're going to be a huge trading partner for us in the future. Their economy is exploding. And is there another country after India? Because this seems to just happen historically. Who's the next one? Is it Brazil? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. Please like, share, comment, whatever. Good comments, bad comments, I don't care. No such thing as bad publicity, right? Thank you guys so much once again, and I will see you soon. Have a good weekend.